Today about the importance of the shield of faith and how faith is important not just to yourself but to those around you. To get started, I think it's important you know a little bit about me. I was raised in the church. I've attended the Church of Christ since I was probably 2 weeks old when Mom and Dad took me. My mother was raised on a dairy farm. A lot of hard work, up early, taking care of the animals. Being the second oldest, she had to help get the kids dressed and ready for school. Then off to school, coming home, fixing dinner, doing homework, more chores, and then off to bed. My dad was raised farming. He was the youngest in the family, so he was the last one to leave the house. He ended up doing a lot of the work after the older brothers and sisters moved on. He rodeoed in college. He was a bareback and saddleback bronc rider. He took a job teaching, and he quit rodeoing so that he could marry my mom. Then he went back to school later, got his degree in statistics and computer science. Nothing at all I understand. There's those of you that get it, and that's awesome, but when I was trying to take it in college, my 9th grade sister, she could do the work and I couldn't because their minds work that way and mine doesn't. I'm the oldest of 3. I have a brother that's younger and a sister also. We were raised in the Rio Grande Valley, which is in South Texas. It's only 7 miles from the border. So if you know where San Antonio is, you drive 4 more hours and you get to where I was raised. I grew up farming with my dad and my granddad. I was driving a tractor before I drove a truck. I was driving a tractor at 14. We went to a very small church, only about 25 members. Brother Johnny was the man that led singing. I think he grew up with Moses. He was very, very old. That's all I can remember about him. I remember standing next to him when I was very small, practicing lead singing. He sang every song the same tempo. I didn't know that they had different tempos to the songs. I went on to go to Harding University in Searcy after high school, and that's where I met Janae. You've heard of love at first sight? Well, that's not what this was. She was not impressed with this guy right here. I'd had a girlfriend at the time, but she'd graduated and moved on. I didn't want a girlfriend, and Janae did not want a boyfriend, so it worked out pretty well. We were good friends first, and that's what's made married life much easier. I worked in warehouses to pay for school. First, it was an ice cream warehouse. Not a lot of money, but they gave us free ice cream, so I ate a lot of ice cream. Then I went on and worked for Walmart. Janae and I were married in 1992. She was graduated from college already. I was taking my time, working on a 4-year degree and doing it in 5.5 years. I'd moved up through the ranks at Walmart after graduation. I'd started off unloading trailers, and I ended up training managers and traveling across the United States. Janae and I moved here in 1997. I accepted a position with Rooms to Go. Jenna was only 3 months old. We had no family and only a few friends here. The plan was to be here a couple of years and then go to Texas when Rooms to Go expanded. But God had other plans. I ended up taking a position with GTE in a warehouse on Adamo Drive, but I still wasn't happy with work. I started as a volunteer firefighter while I lived in Searcy. It was kind of Janae's idea. She said, you need something to keep you busy. And we went to church with the fire chief. So I kind of jumped in with both feet. I continued to volunteer when we moved to Florida with a department here in Seffner, and I loved the work. So I completed fire, EMT, and paramedic school in 2 years while I was working full-time. During this time, we also had the twins, Megan and Jessica, and Landon. It was a very busy time in the Rydl household. In May of 2001, we took a leap of faith, and I was hired with Hillsborough County Fire. All told, I've got 20 years in the fire service. For most of the last 14, I've been involved in special operations. What that is, that's a highly trained group within the fire department. We do all the specialized rescue. The rope, everything that's above ground. The trench, that's the below ground. We deal with the hazardous materials. We deal with the heavy rescue. We deal with the confined space rescues. We go to the biggest fires, the worst accidents. We also are members of Task Force 3, which is the group that goes in and does search and rescue immediately following the hurricanes. In all of this, I've learned to trust the team that I'm on and the equipment that I use. See, everyone on the fire ground has a job. The firefighter gets the nozzle, which is the most fun job, and he gets to go into the fire. The driver provides support, making sure there's adequate water, and he throws the tools and the equipment out that's needed for supporting operations. The captain has to survey the scene, make tactical decisions, and he goes in and he backs up that firefighter. While he's with that firefighter, he's teaching and using his experience to grow that firefighter into an experienced firefighter. No one person can do it all. It takes everyone to show up and do their part for a fireground operation to be successful. They tell you in fire school that your gear will protect you. There's the National Fire Protection Association Standard, 1971, and it says to meet the minimum requirement, your gear will not melt, drip, or ignite after exposure to 500 degrees for 5 minutes, which is nice. They even put a little tag in the gear that tells you this. But then you find out in fire school the average house fire temperature is 1,100 degrees. So you put on this gear and you go into a house that's on fire. It's only by putting that gear on and going into the fire that you can learn to trust the gear and you learn to trust those that are with you. I've been fortunate to have always been in busy stations. I've run a lot of calls in my 20 years. I get a lot of practice putting that gear on and seeing it work. I can't describe to you what it's like to be in a fire. Words or pictures, even videos, can't convey the sounds, the sensation, the feeling of being in the fire. Only those that have been in it understand it. Every call builds confidence. You see the equipment and the people get tested on every call. You see them perform, and it gives you faith. Every call leaves a mark of some sort on the gear. It gets wet, it gets dirty, sometimes it gets torn. But it's the wear and the tear in that gear that lets others know you've been tested and you've passed. In Ephesians, Paul talks about the armor of God. In chapter 6, verse 11, he encourages the brothers to put on the whole armor so that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. He instructs them to take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand an evil day, and having done all, to stand. Stand therefore, having girded your waist with truth, having put on the breastplate of righteousness, having shod your feet with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, with which you will be able to quench the fiery darts of the wicked one, and take the helmet of salvation, the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. Paul was very familiar with the Romans and their armor. They had cleats on their sandals that gave them traction. Their belts kept their clothing bound at their waist. The breastplate protected the chest and the back. The helmet protected the head. Each of these pieces of armor protected one part of the body. Each piece was fitted to the one person that wore it. But the shield is a special piece of equipment. It provided protection for all of the other pieces of the armor. I find it interesting that faith is described as a shield for us. It's the one piece of armor designed to protect all the other pieces, and it protects more than just the person carrying it. See, the Roman shield was about 4 feet tall and 2.5 feet wide. It could be planted on the ground to form a line of defense. It could be carried on the arm. It was carried on their left arm. The sword and the spear was carried in the right hand. The shield protected the soldier that carried it, but it also was used to protect the soldier to the side. One soldier with a shield is easily defeated. Several soldiers with shields could provide protection for each other. They shared the force of the attack. They could defend each other. I'm sure they trained in practice, but it was a whole different story when the arrows fly and the enemy attacks. Confidence in their shield was built on the battlefield. Your faith, like a shield, must be taken up. It's important not only for you, but for those around you. It takes knowing the people next to you, their strengths, their weaknesses, their struggles and successes. We have to protect each other. We have to pick each other up and support each other. And it's only by using our faith and seeing the faith of others being tested that we will grow more confident. With faith, great things can be accomplished. And no doubt about it, the devil attacks us continuously. Fiery darts are described in Ephesians 6:16. These can be many things: doubt, difficulty, discouragement. Without faith, we are more easily beaten. In Matthew 14:25 through 33, the disciples are in the boat and they see Jesus walking on the water. Peter gets out of the boat and begins to walk to Jesus. But when he sees the wind, he begins to fear and sink. Jesus stretches out his hand and says, "O you of little faith, why did you doubt?" And Mark 4:23 tells us the disciples were in the boat with Jesus, and a storm arose, and waves filled the boat. Jesus slept, and they feared for their lives. So they woke Jesus, saying, "Lord, save us, we're perishing." Then Jesus rebuked the wind and the sea, and there was a great calm. And he said to them, "Why are you so fearful? How is it that you have no faith?" And these were the same men that had seen Jesus perform miracles. In Matthew 4:23, they had healed multitudes. In Matthew 8:3, a leper had been cleansed. And yet they feared wind and water. They doubted the power of the Lord. In Acts 16:23, Paul and Silas are beaten and thrown in prison. A truly difficult time for them. In each case, faith struggled, but it didn't fail completely. The disciples went on to preach and teach the gospel throughout the land. Paul and Silas were able to sing praises while they were in their jail cell. Hebrews gives us great examples of faith and what faith can accomplish. In Hebrews 11, it talks about Abel giving a more excellent sacrifice than Cain. It's by faith Enoch was taken away so that he did not die. By faith Noah prepared an ark to save his household. By faith Abraham obeyed when he was called to move to a foreign land and when he was called to take his son to an altar. By faith Sarah received the strength to conceive when well past the age. By faith Abraham gave up his son on that mountaintop, was willing to sacrifice him. It's faith that took Moses out of Egypt and got him to cross the Red Sea. And it's by faith that the walls of Jericho fell. These are all great examples of what faith can do, but each required work on the part of some. Abel had to select and prepare a sacrifice. Noah spent years working on that ark. Abraham had to pack up and move, and later carry his son to that altar. Moses had to pack up and leave Egypt, the safety and security of what those people had known for generations. And Joshua and the Israelites had to march around that city for days to see the faith work. James 2:14-26 describes the relationship between faith and works. It says, "What does it profit if someone says he has faith but doesn't have works? Faith by itself but doesn't have works is dead." If you have faith, works will naturally be the product of it. By works, faith is made perfect. Galatians 5:22 and 23 tells us the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Luke 6:44 tells us, "For every tree is known by its fruits." There are many ways that our faith is shown through works. Like Rex, some may preach, many better than myself. There are teachers like Jack Burkholz and Mel Sheesby. Jonathan, Ray, and Jim lead singing. Their words pick you up. The lesson you may carry through the week, the song gets stuck in your head, you find yourself singing it as you go throughout the day. These are easily seen works. There's many more people working behind the scenes. Jonte's worked for years in our benevolence ministry. He's here Thursday nights after his regular work for hours taking care of people that are in need. If you come by here on Tuesday nights, you'll probably find Mike Hager wandering around the building, changing light bulbs, fixing leaky faucets. By the way, he likes it if you sneak up on him and scare him. Marvin Phillips works with the World Bible School Ministry. Jeff Hernandez makes sure the positions are filled each and every service. There's Dwight Epler. Dwight finds out you're in the hospital, he will show up and surprise you. There's many others that teach our Bible classes. And there's Bob Herkelman, who has the elders come wash the feet of the children in his class to show that the elders are servants. We love our coffee fellowship. It's only made possible by the men and women who serve behind the scenes. They show up early to make the coffee. They stay late to clean up. It's the Fontes and the Walshes who plan many of our fellowships. They're often here early setting it up. They stay late tearing it down after they've worked the fellowship. There are members that pray each week for those listed on the back of the encourager. There's members that meet and greet you when you walk in the foyer. There's members that show up for each and every service. There's the moms and dads that make sure their kids get to church and see the importance of their parents serving and doing works for the church. See, I'm better prepared for the battles of this world because of you, because I've seen your faith. With the firefighters, you can tell the experienced firefighters. Their gear is dirty and torn. It's been through fire, it's been tested, and it's passed. And those wearing that gear have been proven. It's because I've been a member of this church, and I've seen the tests, and I've seen the faith of those around me, that my faith is strengthened. It's the faith of the wife that was told her husband was sick, and there was nothing that could be medically done for him. She didn't lose faith. She never left his side. And she walks in with Clinton every Sunday. It's the faith of the man who cared for his wife when her body failed. He truly honored his wedding vows. And it was at the gravesite, when family and friends were comforting him, he was the one that was comforting us. He's the one that said he knew where she was going and that he was excited he had his bachelor pad finally. It was the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, and Papa Prince. It's because of them my faith is strengthened. It's strengthened by the faith shown by members who serve when asked, by members just showing up on a Wednesday evening to fill the church. It's strengthened by the members who look me in the eye, shake my hand, and truly ask how I'm doing. As you go out in the world this week, I encourage you to put on the whole armor of God so that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. Take up the armor of God that you may be able to withstand the evil, and having done all, to stand. Stand therefore, having girded your waist with truth, having put on the breastplate of righteousness, having shod your feet with the preparation of the gospel of peace, and above all, take the shield of faith with you. Where is your shield of faith? Did you bring it to the battle? Do you carry it with you wherever you go? Is it planted on the battlefield with other Christians? How is your shield? Is it dented and dinged? Has it been beaten up all week? Are you tired of fighting the fight? Are you tired of carrying it and you need the rest and the protection of those Christians that are around you? If you need to gather strength from others, you have an opportunity to come forward. Brothers and sisters are ready to pray for you and to give you rest in the protection of their shields. Let their faith lift you up. If you hear the Lord calling you to join the battle, you want to pick up a shield of faith, you can be baptized now for forgiveness of your sins. The invitation is yours as we stand and sing.